Hey, I'm Zach, and we're back. Welcome to PowerHouse Fence Show. My name's Zach Shue. I'm the other host.
I'm Dan Turbyville, and I'm the other host.
Cool. Welcome, guys. This show is brought to you by, presented by...
Who's the hostess with the mostest, though?
It's me.
Ilaria.
Okay.
Ilaria P. presiding.
All right.
Yes, sir. That's correct. So thank you, Ilaria, for backing us up behind the scenes. You guys will hear her voice periodically. Will we ever see her face?
We did once. If you go back in time to a Thanksgiving episode, I know she was on that. And then weren't you on one other?
She's pretty famous.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
She's a big deal.
Who are you dating?
I'm dating Will Smith. So I think everyone knows me for that.
Will Smith, like
sick. Show brought to you by, welcome to season 2, episode 16, titled It's All Your Job.
Yep.
We're going to open that up and expound on that just a little bit.
Ooh, that's very intriguing. What's all my job? I can't
right.
wait to find out.
That's right. Presented by MFC Manufacturing, Memphis Fence Company, Simpalo, and now partnering with Thornton Fence Consulting Group.
The link is in the description to Tony's events that he is attending and hosting this year. And he also does on-site consultations, which we forgot for like 8 episodes, and then we mentioned the last time. So don't forget that.
Cool. We are live. Oh, what about Tony's website? Can you say that? Do you know it? So for people who aren't watching, they're just listening.
Pause. FenceConsultingGroup.com.
Cool. Thank you. So if you're interested in doing some fence consulting with Tony Thornton, he's been in the business a real long time, has a lot of experience owning a business, working in business, helping businesses grow. So Thornton Fence Consulting Group for all your fence consultation needs.
So he's going to the SWI Spring Training Camp in Wyoming from May 16th to 18th. That'd be kind of cool. I'd like to go to Wyoming.
Cool. It's nice.
Yeah. I think we went. Is Wyoming? I'm not even going to ask that question. I'm not letting people know that I'm that dumb. Sorry.
Carry on.
Moving along.
So Dan and Zach, we are here. We are live, and scrolling across the bottom of your screen, you will see the telephone number to call in if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or just want to tell me to shut the heck up.
That's right. 901-878-4987. Please call and tell Zach to shut the heck up. That would be pretty cool, actually.
Cool. Thanks for speaking of calling and telling me to shut the heck up. At least we'd know they're listening, right? So thanks everybody for listening. Again, we extend the offer. We always extend this offer. If you know anyone who you think like to be on the show, you personally want to be on the show, want to ask us questions, have someone, something you'd like us to talk about, anything like that, please reach out to us via social media or any way possible.
I'll let you in on a little secret. If you find Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, PowerHouse Fence Show, any of those,
it's all us.
You can contact us through any of them.
Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know if you knew that they're all us, but there you go.
So thanks for the listeners. Thanks for all the guests that we have had on the show. We had a record month. Speaking of guests on the show, we had some really awesome guests, guys that I don't know a whole lot of, but having to get to meet them, I really appreciate, and especially their contribution to the show.
Yeah, it's been super cool, man. This year's been awesome. I mean, basically from the beginning of the year, we've had a whole string of really great guests.
Right.
So it's been cool.
So I think Dan Wheeler and Joe Everest deserve a shout out. I think their participation in PowerHouse Fence Show has helped us achieve a broader reach with our podcast, and that's pretty cool. Looks like we got some new countries here in the list of people.
Yeah, so I just kind of went through that again today. In fact, I sent a screenshot to Dan Wheeler, and I was like, man, that's cool to see. Like, it makes you feel like you're doing something, you know? So, of course, we're across the lower 48.
Did he respond with puny?
He did. He's like, that's cute. You should see mine.
Right, of course.
So, across the lower 48, Alaska, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Belgium, Zambia, South Africa, and Japan. Maybe said one of those wrong. I'm not sure. But anyways, that's pretty cool, man. That's like 9
Zambia
countries.
pretty much is South Africa, right?
Oh, it's 2 different countries.
Okay.
It is in the southern of
Well, that's
Africa.
what I meant. That's what I thought you meant when you said South Africa, like the southern point of
South Africa, the country.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I did some homework on that. So, but anyways,
nice.
So we went to the local AFA chapter meeting last week. That was cool. So I know at least one person, Mr. Brian Ram, said he was he had gotten set up to where he could listen to our show. So if you're listening, shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Brian.
And
our local chapter is called the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association.
It is
which they happily pointed out was founded in part by your grandfather.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
Yep. Yeah, they called me out.
That's cool.
But anyways, so we went in there, tried to shake things up a little bit.
They called me the guy with Dan.
Did they?
Yeah. That's my title.
That's
that guy with Dan.
I mean, at least you have a title.
Right, that's right.
Could be worse.
It's cool.
So we went there and I don't know. I said we tried to shake things up a little bit. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We'll see. But I think at this point we're going to try to be involved in our local chapter and try to see if we can,
You mind if I let them
go for it?
So I kind of elusively talked about, wouldn't it be neat if we had a regional trade show, and our intention, or at least idea, was to bring this idea to the chapter. We did not motion for the trade show. We just kind of threw it out and had kind of an impromptu discussion without a motion being made, and just to kind of feel out what that's going down like, and so as not to just kind of roll in and say, we haven't been here in years, and this is what we're going to do now that we're here, to kind of slowly introduce it. But I think there's some younger guys in there that are pretty receptive. Andrew from West Memphis Fence was pretty awesome. I really liked, he started out basically on the same kind of delivery that I would have, is like, it's important to us to foster the next generation of fence tradesmen and fence professionals, both, not just us who are attending these chapter meetings, but also, our helpers, installers, our foremen, and all that. And also like to that spirit of unity that we have experienced it on like a national level, within the Fence Association. He kind of, was transmitting that too, man. And so it was nice to hear. And I really I have to be honest, I had a bit of a pessimistic view about going. I thought we were going to meet a bunch of old crusties and who were not going to, be really receptive to the unity aspect and be some sense of competition and, keeping the family secret a secret and all that kind of vibe or whatever. But it was really cool, man.
Yeah, I think it went pretty decent. So Robert and Seth, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us. I would say this: if you're in our local chapter, which covers just about all of Arkansas, all of the state of Tennessee, and northern Mississippi, you can go on the AFA's website if you'd like to see the map. But that's what I understand. If you're in that area and you would like to see our local chapter participate in some sort of regional trade show event with education and things like that, maybe you could like put a comment on one of our things. You could contact the local chapter. You could do something, maybe just to kind of say, hey, yes, there is interest in that.
Right.
To me, I think it's really cool. I understand, as well as a lot of people, the pains of having to travel to a fence tech, right? Or travel to another national event. And so like next year, Fence Tech, Salt Lake City, right? So now we've got to pack up everything that's here, people, get hotel rooms, flights, the whole thing to go to Salt Lake City.
Was it Corey of Heritage Fence was there? Cool dude. I've been talking to him about doing some sub work, but he's smaller company. He's like, there's no way we're going to Salt Lake City. So for a guy like that or a company like that, that's interested in participating, but may not have the resources to travel to Salt Lake, this would be a cool thing for us.
And I mean, it's at some point, like, it's not really about the resources either. It's also about the time that it takes, which time is a resource.
Hey.
Yeah. So, okay. Well done. Chris Chapman. Hello, sir. So, man, I just think trying to bring a piece of that here locally, and it's somewhere that you could drive to in a few hours and you could go spend one night there, and then head back home.
We've had a lot of talk about AFA conventions, if you will, trade shows, and just the level of excitement and energy that we gain, and afterwards, like where you're amped and like, man, that was cool, and meeting and kind of hanging around with people in the same trade, and the energy and inspiration that we bring back from those. And so if you haven't done it, you don't know that you have what you have, you don't know what you're missing if you don't know you're missing it, basically, right? So of course, people will be like, a lot of work. Maybe we don't want to. But like once you have the one, I think that's all it's going to take.
Yep.
You know?
And I dare say that going to smaller events. So one of my favorite events that I've been to so far was Tony Thornton's Fence Business Conference in Oklahoma that was in December last year. Definitely will be there again this year. It's already, I believe, has like scheduled and things like that. I don't know if you can book it or not yet, but definitely will be there again this year. And that was one of my favorite things just because it was such a small kind of like intimate deal. And there was 100 people there. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was 10 people. I mean, it was still a pretty good crowd, but
Sure.
I mean, it's everyone, not everyone, but a ton of the big like social media people and podcasters and all that stuff were there. I mean, it was kind of like so Seth says you can book it now. So definitely want to get on that and book that. And like I said, that's one of the best events I think I've been to. The Northeast Trade Show, super cool, but I still think that small group setting was really awesome.
And on. Speaking of booking things, I'm going to book it on down to.
Yeah.
Have we yet to register for the golf tournament in Tunica, Mississippi, hosted by the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association, which is our local chapter. As I mentioned, it's May 17th and 18th. We'll be going. That schedule breaks down something like a Friday practice round, Saturday tournament. There's a reception Friday night with a steak dinner, an award ceremony on Saturday night. The link is also in the description, and if you look at Memphis Tri-State Fence Association, you could find that. So we'll be doing that. We're also registered for the West Coast Fence Show, which will be in Reno, Nevada. Our booth numbers will be 516 and 518.
Which is also nearly sold out. I haven't checked it since last week, but it was close to sold out already. So if you do plan on exhibiting, you might want to like get on that right now.
That's right.
But yeah, so speaking of traveling, we're traveling from here to Reno, Nevada, so we get to experience, all of that again. So, but so I've had this idea, Zach. Sorry, had to look at the time. So I've had this idea of doing this kind of like blueprint reading class.
Okay.
All right. So I saw a post on Facebook this week, and I've seen several people talking about it and things like that, but there's like, it's challenging. If you don't have access to anyone who knows, or easy access to someone who knows how to do it, just to like sit down and open a full set of plans and try to figure out what's going on, like that's a challenge, right? And so I've had this idea of trying to do, he's just staring at me like, what are you talking about? So
I've blueprint.
I've had this idea for Simpalo to host an event that would be like a probably 4-week long, what's a blueprint? Probably like a 4-week long deal where it's like an hour a week or something like that. And just kind of do a blueprint reading course. And so I think we're going to try to put that together maybe for the fall. And,
I love it.
Yeah. Try to do just like a weekly Zoom or Teams meeting or something like that. And just kind of try to run through some of the basics and stuff.
Finally,
and
something I can participate in that I feel like I actually have something to contribute. Just kidding.
You contribute all the time, sir.
I know, I'm just goofing off, but yeah, I definitely would be instrumental in that. I'd love to help with that.
So if anyone else is interested in that, let us know. And I mean, if nobody's interested, I don't really want to go through the trouble of creating a curriculum and doing all that for no one to show up.
We could easily make it a YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Probably would record it all.
A few episodes back, we preemptively said when we got back from this event, we're going to have a new estimator in place, and we finally do have a new estimator in place.
Yep. He's a month in.
Yeah. And he's crushing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
He's doing it.
And mostly I say that because he's like, hey, are you ready with your part of this?
Right.
And I'm waiting on you. And so if he's saying that, it's obviously he's doing something, right?
I walk in the door this morning
to the punch,
I walk in the door this morning. He's like, hey, I got a job. Let's do this. And I was like, all right, let me put my bag
Hold
down,
on, buddy. Easy there, Hot Rod.
But yeah, man, he's doing it.
Yeah.
And so he sold his first job.
Yeah, dude.
So that's cool. So he's already getting going on that. And
see, young people are the best.
We
come in and we try to take over.
Take over. Take over. I don't know if I'm an old person, but if you
No.
oh, okay.
No.
All right. So we've talked about trying to like expand, right? And kind of like grow our geographic area. And we committed to take people along on that journey. And so we're kind of to the point where we're doing it, or just
I've effectively bid jobs that are not local.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's cool.
What about the one in Italy?
Oh, we sold it. You get to be the superintendent.
Love that for me.
That was my suggestion. He said, "Who's going to manage this project?"
Me.
I said, "Of course, Ilaria."
Duh.
So yeah, we're staying domestic for now. It is on my bucket list to bid a job internationally.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even really want to, like, it's not to sell it. That's not my bucket list, but to bid the job and go through the exercise of like figuring out how we would get it done.
I like how you've kind of reduced it from a less extreme.
Oh yeah.
It started as my bucket list is to bid a job in an active war zone.
Yeah. So it actually, it isn't a war zone, but I was just kind of like leaving that detail out. But yeah. All right.
I mean, let's let them in. So this
Okay.
this is how we spend sometimes. It's just talking about
daydreaming about bidding war zone jobs. So yeah, we'll figure that out one of these days, and we'll let you know how it goes. But yeah, so we bid in 6 states last week. That's pretty cool.
We haven't won any of these yet.
Not yet,
but we're working on it.
Wait a minute. The one job that he won,
it's
not in Tennessee.
Hey, it's 15 minutes away.
Right. I mean, it's only on the other side of the river, but
it's in a different.
It's not in Tennessee.
But we're going after it. That one I did was up in Carbondale, Illinois.
Yep.
At a government facility, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we're treading some new waters a little bit.
Yep, we're doing things. And so we'll kind of keep everybody in the loop as we progress along in that. And I would talk about it more, but I kind of want to get to the point of this episode here.
Eventually.
Yeah. And so there are some things you got to bear with us a little bit before we get there. But anyways, so I started this also. I listened to the contractor fight, right? And so I don't remember the guy's name that was the guest, to be honest with you, but they talked about social media stuff, and this guy talked a lot about marketing on social media and all that. And so check it out. It's like the latest one that was pushed out as a podcast, I think. But anyways, one of the things that they said is like, don't try to tiptoe around stuff. Like, pick a side, right? And if your opinion is something, then let your opinion be known. And so their position on that was, you're going to get one of two things. You're either going to get people that agree with you or people that disagree with you. And in either of those situations, you're getting engagement on your post.
Sure.
And so I was like, well, that's an interesting way to look
at it. I like it. Right? And I think that I have kind of erred on the side of caution by way of not polarizing our audience.
We 100% have.
So
we're Switzerland. That's what we say every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
but there, as I discovered today, I'm not going to open the door too much on this or pull back the curtain too much on this, but that's what I decided. I was walking around the yard and I thought, I've been trying to be too nice about this. And you know what? I do have an opinion.
Yeah.
And that's when I came in and was like, dude, this is where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
And I want to do something about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think we all get in that, right? That's complacency.
Right. Or I think I suffer the to be a good guy or good, nice guy that you can't hurt people's feelings or step on toes. And that's, today I had to part ways with one of our employees. And that's one of those situations where the human aspect of this is, that's sad for me. That affects me.
Yep.
And I like the person, but
and it sucks.
If they're not performing or they're not holding up, our expectation of our workplace culture, then I don't have room for that.
Yep. Yep. And we talked a little bit today about inspect what you expect.
Right.
Right. We heard that a couple of weeks ago on another podcast.
That's
I was like, wait a minute. We need to do that.
Was that Nathan Downs with Dan Wheeler?
Yeah. So, so along those same lines, I saw this quote: you can never leave footprints that last if you're always walking on your tiptoe. And I will let you take over the person's name that quote is from.
No, I don't got it.
Lema Gabowi.
Okay.
I 100% butchered that. Y'all know to expect that from me, so no surprise. But anyway, so that kind of like tied in, and it was on Monday. You can put a little widget on there that shows you the quote of the day, and that was just the quote of the day. So I thought it was pretty ironic that it tied right back into the podcast I was listening to this morning. And then I listened to also Wisdom from the Top. It was my first time ever listening to that, and the guest on there was a guy named Arling Kuga, and he was a Norwegian fella. I don't know if I said that right. Sorry if I didn't. But he was the first person that completed the 3-pole challenge, which means that he went to the North Pole, the South Pole, and climbed Everest. Right. So it's like the 3 harshest environments on planet Earth. He conquered all 3 of them on foot. And so he did all that like in the early 90s. But apparently in the climbing community, the question is posed frequently, why do people climb Everest? And the like famous answer that someone said that now other people reference was because it's there. And so with our like growing and expanding and trying to bid in different states and all of that, I've kind of sought out like, what is my answer? What's my answer to why? Right. And it's always like, I kind of just want to do it.
Right.
And
I mean, why do you collect cactuses?
Right.
Or own plants? I don't have like a real spiritual or deep response for that. I mean, I like plants.
Right.
I don't know.
I've kind of thought that I need to come up with this like romantic, whatever poetic answer.
Which we have one. I mean, we've kind of talked about, kicked around that to be situated in a better position to serve others, right? Mm-hmm. It does allow that for us, but also, yeah, man, why not?
So we like to, we like to try to take care of our team.
Right.
Right. And help contribute to their family, help support their family, and help provide a positive environment. They can show up to work and all of that. Right. So there is that side of things. And the larger the company we are, the more people that we could, have as a part of our team and share that experience with. So there's that. But also there's just that kind of because it's there.
Sure.
Right. I want to climb the mountain because it's there. But I don't know. And I've kind of battled a little bit with myself. I'm like, is that an okay answer? Am I allowed to just say that?
And I think the spirit of taking a side and not being afraid, or, some eggs will be broke. You know how you have to break an egg to make an omelet, or the hurting people's feelings in in operating a business and all of that. I think the reluctancy to say because it's there is like this kind of false humility that I shouldn't want to achieve, or else I'm being grandiose or egoic or egocentric or narcissistic. The fear of what will people think if I want to achieve success. Somehow 100%. I've suffered the idea that I shouldn't want success.
Isn't it ironic? So in my mind, in my opinion, that would be like what I want to accomplish that. But if I had accomplished it, I don't think people would think that at that point. Isn't that weird?
And so the case in point is, screw what people think.
Right. Just do it. Just do it.
Don't be so worried about what someone else is going to think.
Quit tiptoeing and leave some footprints.
There you go, baby. Let's make some footprints.
All right. So
I want to make some footprints in this episode.
I know.
All right. We're going to talk about Ford Tough.
You want to skip that part or?
Yeah.
All right. We might circle back to it. So the tools, equipment, method for the week, I think we're just going to kind of skip over it for now. And if we have time, we'll come back. Okay. So, the Italian for the week is
Italian word of the week. Now it's time for a segment we like to call Italian for the week. Is that what we call it?
Yeah, sure.
Of that.
The word of the week is truck.
Camion.
Camion.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's just so funny because I always thought it was English until I came here and it was not the right word.
We don't know what that word is.
Yeah, but it like ends with an N, and like I think it's probably the only word that ends with an N in Italian.
Say it one more time.
Camion.
Camion?
Mm-hmm.
Commune?
Yeah.
No, that is not it.
I swear.
She's like, we don't have trucks in Italy. We have bicycles and very small cars.
And what are those, like utes? You know the thing that they have in Australia? The like
Oh yeah, the
El Caminos.
Yeah, there you go.
Oot. I don't know what they're called. Sorry. I earlier didn't want to let people know I'm an idiot. Now I just did. Sorry about that. All right. So
let's get down to business.
Here's the
ladies and
business.
gents.
Here's the business. Is
the namesake of this show. It's not my job.
That's not my job. Or I can't do that because I never have. Or
What?
I don't know how, so I just can't. Get out of here with that crap. Okay? That's all I got. I'm done. I would drop my mic if it wasn't attached to a boom.
Right.
But
so I've been having this quite a bit. I have experienced some employees who have a certain skill set or developed a certain skill set here at the company. And then when asked to do another version of that, we do fence, right? So we have various styles of fence. We have ornamental, we have chain link, we have wood, there's vinyl, there's, other things. We don't do a lot of the other stuff. We really mostly have done wood and chain link and ornamental, but we ask a guy to, hey, can you go help dig some holes for not chain link today, but wood today?
what?
I don't know how to do wood.
I ain't no wood guy.
I ain't no wood guy. That's right.
So can you dig a hole? Yeah, but not for a wood post.
Right.
That's a bit of a dramatic example, but that's kind of the thing we're talking about. Panic bars, right? Closers, ingress stuff. I mean, all of that kind of like gate hardware, access control side a little bit, but not even anything like low voltage or any of that. I'm talking like purely mechanical stuff. That's something that people really, epoxy anchors.
And what have we heard a lot about that response is often followed by the wish to not be blamed if something gets messed up. I don't want to be responsible for fucking it up the first time. I'm sorry to say that.
Oh gosh, now we're explicit.
Weeks. This is an explicit topic.
My kids can't listen to this episode now. It's going to be blocked from Alyssa's phone. All right.
So they don't want to be responsible for making a mistake the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But you know what? I think here's the proper way for this to happen, right? Is if I say, Zach, go do this thing you've never done. And you're like, man, I mean, I've never done it. I'll go out. I'll do my best. I'll go watch a YouTube video or something like that.
Are there instructions in the box?
I'll read the instructions. But just know that I've never done this, but I make a commitment that I will go out and I will put my best effort into that. That's all that anyone wants.
Right.
Well, I mean, ultimately, like we do want it to go flawlessly and be done and all of that. But
I lost my temper, my mind, and I just said, to tell me no is not an acceptable response.
It is not.
That's what I did. I said, now get out there and go do it.
Right? It's not an acceptable response. None of those things. Now, I will say, it's okay to say that you don't know how to do it, but you're willing to go try. But don't come back with that. Oh, no. I'm not doing that because I don't know how.
Right.
And so guess what? Maybe some listeners kind of have said things like that or kind of have that opinions. And so here's my response to that right now is you're listening to this. You're consuming this entertainment. Either using a phone, a computer, some other sort of electronic device. Maybe you're driving right now. Maybe you're walking. Maybe you're sitting in a chair. Guess what? There was a time you were unable to do any of those things and you did it for the first time. And now you successfully do it all the time.
Right.
We have all done and we all do things every single day that we did for the first time at some time in our life.
Right.
So I don't know.
I'm a washing machine repairman.
Right.
By way of YouTube.
Right. Exactly. I too have done a little bit of dishwashing repair.
Right.
You know,
there you go.
I mean, tore them jokers apart and replaced them fixed them up a couple of times. So.
Well, in part, yeah. I mean, when you have kids, dude, you got to repair some stuff.
You just do it.
You immediately become a plumber as soon as your kids are born.
So I've faced every type of fence installation challenge that I personally have ever encountered. And I said, all right, this is going to be a little bit slow because I got to learn how to do it, but I'm going to go do it.
Right.
And I mean, built buildings, right? I built a handful of like pole barns and fully enclosed shops and all of that. Never did it before, but when did it the first time, figured it out, got it done. Zach over here has built, I don't know, an art museum full of stuff that like had never been done before. Made some concrete lamps the other day.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine like a chunk of concrete that kind of looks busted up, you know? But anyways, gosh, look at me. I'm just going to town.
So everything's everyone's job, right? I mean, within reason. Obviously, I think there's the necessity for some compartmentalization, which we've seen here. If we order 1,000 bolts for a job and 6 different departments handle them, how many bolts make it to the job, right? So there's that, and that produces some confusion and inefficiency, thus waste.
Yeah.
But also like everyone being willing to, or having the team, building that team that like we all will do whatever, right? And are willing to learn to do, right? So I mean, that's part of it. So I guess my question is like, how do we foster the attitude that we want to see, or solicit the attitude that we want to see, or encourage that? And I think you've done in my experience with you, have done a pretty good job of saying, I realize that you've never done this before. I understand if it takes a long time. I understand if I got to buy a new panic bar. Go mess it up. It's worth you learning. For me, it's worth you to learn this.
It is. It is. I mean, at some point, everyone ran a fence truck for the first time. Everyone talked to a customer the first time. Everyone was like the lead person on a job the first time. And probably everyone can remember messing something up.
Right.
And you fix it, you move on, and you learn something from it. So I do think that it's our responsibility as sales management, whatever you want to call it, to foster the environment where people understand that as long as you're putting forth your best effort and you're trying your best, then like we understand people are going to mess up, right? I don't think it's fair to send somebody out to do something the first time, and then if they make a mistake, just go ballistic, right? You sent somebody to do something, they're trying, they're doing their best. Give them the resources that they need to be successful at it.
Right.
And then, you probably have to encourage them a little bit as they go through that process. But I mean, it's all part of it. Seth gets it. Show a guy to fish, feed him forever. We use that all the time. The only way to learn is to get in there and make mistakes. That's a part of it. Yep. There you go. So, and also like when you're in a small business, I mean, everything is everyone's job, right? That's a team, right? A lot of people use that team word to describe people in their business. If you watch a football game and a defensive player picks up a fumble, he doesn't just like stop and be like, oh, no, I can't touch that. That's not my job, right? He goes and he scores.
Right.
Right. It's everyone's job is everything. So we all have to do whatever we have to do. But
right. And I think so. We were talking earlier about the not feeling like it's a responsibility to have to ask an adult employee to do their job, right? So to say, hey, man, like, or remind them what their job responsibilities are to work. But we also, I mentioned this, I don't know if you agree, but either way, I'm going to throw it out there that
go for it.
I think sometimes we do hire, obviously, if someone has experience, that's good, but we also want to cultivate and encourage people to grow beyond their current experience.
Yeah.
And facilitate that. And so maybe part of in the position of management that we are in is to help develop people. And that's been one of the greatest rewards of this is when they do, when I hire people that may or may not have any experience or have limited experience or have what they think is a lot, then we challenge them to grow further.
Yep. And
meet that task. And I think so calling a guy on his bluff that's I can't do it and being like, bull crap. Bull crap. I couldn't either.
Yep.
But how do you do that without being a jerk and without stifling that? The same, I don't know, it's kind of the same question with your children. How do you encourage that without discouraging them by being too harsh or whatever? And maybe this is too soft or too kind of parental or mamby-pamby style of management for some, but I think it's important to try to invest in people and maybe share with them what it took for me to grow past that. Because at one time I was an hourly employee at Memphis Fence Company.
Me too.
And I believed that was my place here, like for eternity.
Right.
I could not have seen this,
Well, when I was an hourly employee here, I didn't think I would be here still. I thought I would be doing something else by this point. So, but anyways, here we are. So with to me, you can have a conversation, right? Oh man, I've never done that before. Okay, well here, let's talk about it. Let's walk through it. Let's do all of that. That's okay, right? And then about the second, third, fourth time of a person like wanting to resist doing it and using that I've never done it before excuse, like at that point, things kind of turn a little bit, right?
Well, hence my get the heck out of my office and go do it.
Right.
You know?
And so eventually I mean, as much as we all want to be like saints, sometimes we do get a little upset, right? And I mean, it can escalate to that point after you've had the same conversation a few times and you're like, well, we're at an impasse. And I mean, I have given people the ultimatum, either go do that or leave and don't come back.
Right. Yeah, I've extended that. This is the job I have for you to do today.
Mm-hmm.
If you're unwilling to commit to do that, then you don't have anything to do here today.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't want to do that, right? Nobody wants to do that, but
I used to love to do that, to be honest. I was talking to a friend about when I was the shop foreman, dude.
Yeah.
And y'all'd be like, dude, you can't do that. Like we're going to get in trouble one day for the way that you're talking to these people.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
One guy told me that he made too much money to sweep the floor.
Yeah.
I lost my mind.
I remember. So, again, when you're a team, everybody works together. Everybody has the same objective and everybody's heading in the same direction.
Right.
Right. And you can't have somebody that's just like, not willing to do it. Sorry.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to get there, you all have to get there.
Well, and that was why I wanted to attend what was Tony's class again called? Sorry. Remind me of the name.
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy.
Oh, whatever.
Come on.
It's building your management team or something.
Yeah,
like that,
something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And that was kind of neat, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I have really enjoyed the past month or two of the people we've talked to, the podcast we've listened to, about personal growth, about professional growth, and then starting to see some of this implement in Memphis Fence Company, and really even the unity it's created with us in the office, in administration, and starting to put some of this stuff into action.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of good information out there.
Right.
And I mean, it's everywhere. Right. So, I mean, there's not like one place you could go and, go listen to this one podcast episode or go listen to that one thing. Like it's a collective of information from everywhere. And you just take bits and pieces of this and that, and you put it all together. And next thing you know, you have a plan.
Right.
And so that's pretty cool, man. It's cool. I think my blood pressure is kind of lowered back down a little bit. So, all right. So let's talk about this. Like if you currently own a business or you would like to own a business, I think that whole "it's not my job" mentality, right? It doesn't fit in with that, because when you have a business, your job is to do what the customer expects of you.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if your team is unable to accomplish some piece of it, it falls on you.
Yes, we've talked a bit about wanting to not be the guy on the other end of the phone as the business owner.
Yeah.
And you've talked about trying to transition out of that role some, and I've tried to transition out of that role some, and how difficult that can be. To not be just, I got the owner's number, I'll just call him.
Right.
You know, even if you're like, okay, hey, we have an office number now. From now on, just direct all questions, comments, concerns, quote requests, everything to this telephone number, you know, and the difficulty of that. So in that respect, I have been like, I don't want this to be my job anymore.
So, Mr. Tony Thornton, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whatever it is.
In case I don't see you again.
Yeah. So I did that twice today.
Yeah.
I had somebody like contact me about a job. And they're like, hey, what about this? I was like, well, so-and-so will let you know when that's done.
Right.
So-and-so will let you know when that's ready. You know?
I'm trying to, I think it's only fair to, if we extend a challenge to someone, to try to identify that characteristic in myself, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So to see like on a day-to-day basis, what is not my job, right?
Right.
You know?
And I don't think
And-
that anything is not my job.
Right.
Right. So anyone who doesn't know, like I am the owner, the president of these things. And so I can say, I don't think that anything is not my job. Right. My job is to make sure that the customer is satisfied.
Right.
Whatever that takes. If that takes me going out there and sweeping their driveway or their parking lot to get them to make them happy, like that's what I have to do. I mean, obviously I'm going to try to send someone else to do it before I go do it. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, if I got to go at 10 o'clock at night to go sweep somebody's driveway, I'm going to do it.
Right. Well, today, as an example, I guess we instituted some disciplinary counseling, if you will.
I don't even know that it was really disciplinary, right?
Whatever. So coaching or whatever. And that I did try to get out of, but ultimately my hope was that another employee would kind of rise to meet that occasion, to become more assertive.
Yep. And that was the challenge actually we extended to them.
Right. So the reason I wanted to avoid that is so that I wasn't the one enacting the
challenge.
Right. I thought this would be good for two peers to challenge each other in that respect. Or whatever.
Right.
So,
yeah. So kind of,
it, I think.
to go into that a little bit. So what he's talking about are counseling with one of our team members. Because again, I don't think it was disciplinary, and you'll see why in a minute. But we basically, we were like, why is this not happening? Why is so-and-so doing this and that? And like, we just sat around complaining about it for, I don't know, 20 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes. And I was like, all right. So I just picked up my phone and I called him. I said, hey, can you come over here for a minute?
Sure.
And like, we just sat down with them, and the conversation was nothing like that. It wasn't that. It was like, hey, well, you're not in trouble right now. Right. No one's mad at you, because I don't know that the expectation of what we're talking about has ever actually been extended to you.
Right.
And so here is what your role entails, right? This is what you should be accomplishing in your position. And so we just kind of like laid that out and extended the challenge for them to be a little bit assertive and all that.
Segue for acceptable touch.
What?
So right, we say, how can we expect of someone and something we haven't ever extended to them as an expectation?
You can't.
He got the position, which is called foreman, and there was no written expectation, no job description.
Nope.
It just means I make this much money, and that's what they call me.
Yep, that's right. And that was it. And it was like just business as usual, continued on doing the same old thing.
Like the last guy did or whatever. But the last guy just did whatever he thought he was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, gosh. I think, wonder if Tony Thornton's listening, if he's a job description guy. Oh, man.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. So as far as this having expectations without ever extending the expectation to a person. So our children have teenagers, right? My daughter has a boyfriend. They hang out at our house a lot. And so we're like entering into what is acceptable for them to do. We have the rule, leave the door open. Obviously the lights are on. Don't be under the blankets, whatever. So we caught them in what's kind of a compromising position. Nothing too, X-rated. It's PG still, but we're like, oh, wait. And I was actually angry at the moment, and I'm taking this boy home right now. He's never to come over here ever again. And I thought, this isn't really fair. And I told him, I said, you know what? I wanted to punish you guys, but it's not fair to punish you for an expectation that I've never extended to you. So I had the great idea that I would make up a list of acceptable forms of touch. Right. And then I had an even better idea that they would make the list and prepare it for me, at which point I would review and tell them, no, this one's good, this one's bad, whatever. So these kids, I was like, I'll be back in 3 hours, make the list, and we'll review when I get back. When I got back, they had prepared a PowerPoint, hence the title, Acceptable Touch. And it's called Acceptable Touch, a PowerPoint. These are 15-year-old kids, and the PowerPoint is Acceptable Touch by my daughter and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious, man. There was like 6 or 8 slides of various ways, holding hands and resting your head on the other person's shoulder, and sure enough, so now we have a rule set that they
made.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we hold them accountable to.
So Tony says training sets expectations, provides accountability, and training must come first. And then job descriptions and responsibilities along with KPIs help train the team members and allow establishing the expectations. I knew he'd be a job description guy.
Yeah, we should
sure.
be.
Yeah. So that's
how many times did I say job description to you when I first hired on?
I think like 17 times a day. Easy.
Right.
So yeah.
When are we gonna write this contract with these job descriptions in it?
Right. So the interesting thing about your acceptable touch story, it's similar to what we did with the person today.
Yeah.
Because where we left off our meeting today was, all right, I want to have a follow-up meeting on Monday, and I'd like for you to have a plan of how you're going to accomplish some of these things that we've said are expectations that come along with your job.
Right.
So we've talked about the job descriptions. I've thought about the job descriptions. I've talked to various people in our organization all within the last month. It's something.
And the only real excuse, I'll call it an excuse. The only real excuse we ever come up with, or I come up with, is that we're so much of a team and function in that way you mentioned of a small business where we all at times share pieces of a load that would be the thing.
My fear is the title of this episode. My fear is, that's not my job description. I'm not doing that.
That's not my job description.
So I know that the last bullet point on that job description is any other duties deemed necessary by manager, president, owner, whatever word goes in there. But that is my fear every single time is, that's not my job description. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, oh, geez, that terrifies me. So I do actually have job descriptions that I've had for, 12 years. And I think I'm slow. It only took me this long to come around to being like, maybe we need them.
Right.
But
well, that's cool, man.
So I'd like to kind of touch on this whole owning the business part. Oh, Tony, every consult we do requires the development of job descriptions for each employee. Yep. I understand. I know.
We didn't ask for a consult. I don't know what this meant.
We're getting a comment consult.
Right. That's right. Okay, never mind. Just block Tony's comments.
Get out of here. No.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah. We appreciate it. And I know it's something that we need to do. And we're going to do it, and we're going to make you proud. How about that? All right. So I kind of like to circle back to this whole it's not my job concept with like a business owner, or if you're considering stepping into that role of owning a business, right? So there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. Oh, I wanted to circle back. We already talked about the sweep in the parking lot or whatever. So there's also a lot of sacrifices that have to be made, right? There's going to be something that comes up that takes time away from your family, takes time away from your friends, something that happens when you're on vacation that's really going to ruin your day. And I've personally have experienced this when I get a phone call.
Got a flashback.
I get a phone call. Oh man, we couldn't hang that gate today. What do you mean? The opening football game for this high school is tonight. The gate had to be hung today. Why could you not accomplish it? Oh, well, we couldn't. Our welding leads weren't long enough. And we tried to drive the truck through the fresh sod to get close enough, got the truck stuck, pulled it out with a telehandler. Like, I promise you, I got this phone call when I was in Florida, and I said, what? You're kidding me, right? This is a joke. You're pranking me? Nah, it wasn't. They were legit. They tried to drive the truck to where the gate was, over the new sidewalks, through the fresh sod, all of that, got the truck stuck, everything else, right? It was a fiasco. I said, well, did you think about taking a portable welder? Oh, yeah, but, it was already noon, and by the time we got back to the shop and got the welder and all of this and got back out, I was like, you are kidding me. So, I've experienced all of that. Once I went on vacation and I stopped at Best Buy and bought a laptop on the way and sat in a condo in Florida and did submittals for a job. Like, I've done all of this. And right. That's just kind of a part of the the deal, right? It kind of goes along with it. And you build a great team, right? You eventually you get a great team. Maybe you start off with one, but you get a great team that supports you and that helps you, and it reduces those down, right? It reduces the times when things like that happens. I won't say that it's ever going to be completely eliminated, but I will say it has been several years since either of those stories happened. And so I feel like now we have a good team in place that I think I could probably go away for a couple days and not get a phone call that there was a truck stuck in the middle of a brand new football field or whatever. So it comes and goes, I guess, but it gets better, right?
Yes.
You're just sitting over there. What's up, man?
I'm
You okay?
thinking about all kinds of experiences from both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got truck stuck once,
yeah.
couple times.
Off the side of someone's driveway.
Yeah, one time, and then
They're-
another time it was like in the front yard,
Mm,
and the horn malfunctioned, and so it was obvious that I was stuck, and I had
because the horn was stuck on, right?
in the old International
Yeah.
with trailer with skid steer on the back, stuck in the mush in their front yard, and offloaded the skid steer to pull the truck out and made a big mud pit.
Yep. And then here we go. Let's hire a landscaper to go in there, repair everything.
Right. The one off the side of the driveway I fixed myself. So that wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Well, except for the fact that it was like, I get pictures from the customer of the truck sitting off the side of this driveway. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on right now?
Dude, they had a 8-foot wide driveway that went up like a snake up to the house. There was nowhere to park in order to perform the work so that we weren't blocking their driveway.
Right.
That was the solution.
Yeah. So we had.
But I also got the call from one of my employees saying they were in an argument on the job site, and they couldn't complete the day's work because they couldn't come to terms on how to proceed with who was in charge of who and which one knew their offense from a hole in the ground or whatever. And that was basically it. And I was like, I don't care who does what at this point. If you just don't call me back unless you're doing work on this fence or you're fired.
Right. Yeah. I've experienced all of that. I think it's best if you send multiple people on a job site and either there's more than one crew leader or there is no crew leader. You have to designate who's in charge.
Oh yes, that is it's a given.
So that was your lesson learned on that one.
Somebody's in charge.
Right?
But I was too afraid to make that call.
Yep.
You know, my brother was one of the people, and the guy who I would have called the lead, I felt like I should, have some sort of loyalty to my brother and then just not designate one as lead.
Yeah.
And so in response to being a wimp and not choosing a side and somebody's feelings getting hurt, I ended up in that situation.
Yeah. So there's lots of fun things that come along with owning a business, including all of that. All right. We have replaced people's septic lines in the middle of their backyard because I didn't want to carry the fence from there into the driveway. So I just drove my truck out there. Oh, cool. I didn't want to carry the fence from the driveway. So I just drove my truck out in their yard and now it's stuck and you have to call a tow truck to come pull me out.
We've accidentally hit some AT&T stuff that has caused a serious
big bills.
Yeah.
Wow. Why do we always do this? Our show is going to turn into like the Two Stooges. We always just talk about these things we mess up. We do successfully install fence. We completed. It works well.
I said, how are we going to prevent this show from being basically a bitch fest? And you're like, I don't know.
There's right. And here we're just going down the path.
Like, I don't know how not to when you started.
Okay. So
not you start, but you know what I'm saying. When I get started, I don't know where to stop.
I'll just say a couple more things about owning this company, right? So there's times wherever I'm on the phone with people I've honestly been on the phone with construction managers at 11 p.m. pacing back and forth in the bedroom while we're trying to figure out how to get a job done before the deadline. Right.
Sure.
In that situation, again, it was not our fault. It just was the way the job went. We were only allowed to get on there at whatever date. And at that point, it was only a couple days before the deadline. And we're like, oh crap, what are we going to do? how do we rise to the occasion to help this customer get what they need and what they expect? And we pulled it off. Actually, me, Kenny, and Felicia, who have both been on the show, went to this job site on the day after Thanksgiving because that was the day we had to be there. So us three went out there and we did the job.
The owner and 2 estimators.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we went out and we did the job because we were the only people that would show up to work the day after Thanksgiving. So there you go. I mean, you just do whatever you got to do. Nothing is not my job, as I've said. So it's all your job. You want to circle back? We got about 5 minutes. You want to circle back and talk about these trucks for a minute?
Love it. Much preferable to what we're talking about.
Let's
just kidding.
I mean, I wasn't trying to be negative, man. It just
I participated. I have equal parts.
I will say on a positive note, we've talked about this bridge job a couple times where it took us a month to get holes cut in the thing. The day we finished cutting holes, one of the guys from the contractors team went out there and started filling the holes with grout again because he was sent to patch some spots on the wall that were torn up and started filling all our anchor holes. All of this, man, it was an absolute battle. But once we got post stood up and kind of got over the whole anchor issue, everything went well.
It's gone pretty good.
And so
there's been a lot of grumbling.
There's been
internally about it, but as far as how the job's going, it's going fine.
Right now, man, this week, everything's gone great.
It's pretty cool.
It's actually tomorrow, the job will be complete. So we've already billed for the month. So we already billed it out complete. Got it done. Everything looks good. It all turned out right. So,
all right, since you're already on your soapbox.
Oh, you want me to soapbox some more about trucks?
I'm just kidding.
All right. So we've decided that we're gonna. Well, I guess maybe Dan Wheeler kind of called us out a little bit, but we've decided that we're gonna start talking about some trucks and equipment and methods and all of this stuff.
Let's start with my personal favorite.
Okay, what's
F550 crew cab?
F550 crew cab.
Love it.
Yeah,
favorite truck in the fleet.
They're pretty cool, aren't they?
Dude, love it so much.
So if you want to see it, it is on our website somewhere. I don't remember which page, but you can poke around in there a little bit, and it's a big picture of it on there with the vinyl wrap and all that. Shout out to Nice Tents. They do our vinyl wrap. They're in North Shelby County. So again, if you're in this area and you want some vinyl
cool
wrap,
dude. Luke's a cool guy.
They've come through for us on a few occasions that really helped us out. But anyway, so here's what I've figured out in my years of experience, because I'm such an old man. You're never going to make everybody happy. I've never one time bought trucks and no one complained about them. Right. I've had people get mad for getting a new truck. And I mean, that's just part of it. Right. I don't know. I do my best. I think I'm doing something good. They get mad. But I mean, you know how it is, right? And it's not like anybody gets super mad or anything, but they're like, oh, I don't like this about that truck. I don't like that about that truck. So I apologize for saying mad. But what I figured out is let's just standardize it.
Right.
Right. So if the truck is doing this role, if it's a sales truck or just kind of like a errand run around type of truck, we're getting an F-150. It's going to be a crew cab. It's going to be 4-wheel drive. That's it. That's what we're getting.
I'm getting mine tomorrow.
Oh, yours is just eternally at the shop right now.
It's not an F-150.
No.
4-wheel drive crew cab.
I'm not replacing a 2-year-old truck just because I want to standardize them, right?
Yeah, all the Fords, we do have one
Ranger.
Ford Ranger 2021. Transmission went out with no obvious abuse or anything.
Torque converter, right?
Yep.
The truck has never even hauled anything more than a few posts or something like that. Right. It has a plain painted bed that's not even scratched up. And yeah.
So we run an F650 with a 16-foot bed. We have a couple of one old school F550.
Yep.
That's still we put some work into, and Miguel is running that tomorrow.
It's a 99, I think. Yeah. So we just put a motor in it earlier this year.
And that truck runs pretty good.
It does. It does indeed. They're good trucks, man. They're good old trucks.
And we've had a bunch of other trucks around. We've had some 4500 or 4500 GMCs.
Yep.
Some TerraStar Internationals. Mm-hmm. That old 86 International I mentioned earlier. What did you sell that? It's a 94?
Yeah.
Oh. And did you sell that recently?
It's for sale.
It's for sale,
but it's not sold.
So
Sterling. Yeah, we have a Sterling sitting here that's for sale right now. 24-foot flatbed, tandem dual rear axles on it. I mean, it's a semi with a 24-foot flatbed. That was another one. I mean, we spent a lot of time and energy and money and everything building a bed for it, and then people didn't like it. All right, so, and actually, the truck that it was replacing took like, I don't know, 3 years to get fixed, but knock on this wood table right here, it's been running ever since. So, International TerraStars, I would say run for the hills, right? Old Internationals, 90s models, freaking awesome trucks, right? In fact, the truck that we have sitting out here for sale right now, you could put a little money into it. Awesome truck. But it's rough, it's old, and eventually it just gets hard to get parts for older trucks. We've got a like 2001-ish F650, and it's really difficult to get parts for that truck. So you get to a point where you just can't hardly find parts for them. But I mean, they're still running, they're still good. I personally am a fan of Ford just because I think they have a very fascinating history. And I mean, I've driven multiple Fords in my life. We own a bunch of Fords here, and like I've had pretty good luck with them. You drive a Ford.
Yeah, that's because I worked here.
Yeah.
I worked here and I drove Ford trucks, and I was like, these are trucks I know I'm comfortable driving this.
Yep. Yep. So they're pretty good. So F550 is kind of like the medium truck that we'll run. We do get a crew cab in it as well. We get the longest frame option. I forget, like an 11-foot bed or something like that, as long as they'll go on a crew cab. And we've got some kind of like, I don't even know. They're North Star beds that we put on them. And so North Star makes some, I think they're like SD is the maybe, but it kind of has like long boxes down the top on the sides. Those are pretty cool beds. This one is similar to that, but it just has like the tall boxes at the front. Again, you can find pictures. It's really hard to describe, but
right. We do custom built headache rack with like a dead man, and is what I call it, in the back to support long top rail. It also has the capability to pull a gooseneck if you need to pull a trailer, which we have up to a 40-foot gooseneck to haul whatever the heck. I mean, you could put anything on that thing. With some various equipment trailers. So basically, the 550, I think it's a great truck. When I was the installer for the Ironside, that's what we drove. That's what we had, and I built a rack for it, and had the welder on the back, obviously with the capability of pulling the gooseneck. And so, if I could get away with just putting a pallet of concrete and some posts on the bed of the truck, I would. If I needed to pull a trailer. And so you can kind of size it and determine like small trailer, big trailer, no trailer for the type of work you're doing for the day, and still kind of zip in and out. It's still manageable enough where you can leave the trailer and take it to the lunch spot. You're not trying to occupy, a whole parking lot with a monster rig. Kind of thing. And so, I mean, I found it to be a pretty amazing setup. And like I said, I mean, I liked it so much, I bought an F-150 crew cab because I mean, it's basically the same interior package, and I love it, man. I really enjoyed that truck and its capability and flexibility, especially going from some light commercial for me to residential back and forth, and having to have these various needs of trailers and the parking space and all that.
So I personally do have an F550, the sister of the old one. So I've got like a 2002 F550, and it's like a 16-foot flatbed, something like that. Pretty cool. They're good old trucks. If I was to go out and buy a truck for me today to install fence, I would get an F350, I believe. I don't even think I'd go to 550. I think I'd go 350. And I think I would run one of those SD beds that has the long boxes on the top, put a gooseneck trailer behind it. I don't mind pulling a gooseneck. I did pull goosenecks across the country when we raced sprint cars and all that stuff. And I don't mind it. So like if I personally was to buy a truck, that's what I'd go for. And F350 nowadays, they're super capable. They're a lot more capable than they were 20 years ago. It's pretty fascinating what 1-ton trucks can do these days.
For sure.
But yeah, for our trucks here, we run 550s. They have a little bit better brakes and a little bit bigger GVR W. There you go. There's There's a testimonial from Mr. Chris Chapman. We love the F550. It's awesome and very capable truck. And Dan did an excellent job on the design of the headache rack and the overall outfitting of the truck. I was not alone in that, but I do appreciate that. So yeah, they're the ones we have now are pretty cool. But they have a little bit bigger brakes and stuff like that, a little more stopping power, and so that's the reason for all of our installers. I would go for the F550 option. As we've talked about, F650 is going to be kind of like our next step up. We have one sitting out here, cabin chassis, right now that we're going to put a 16-foot bed on. In our experience, that was kind of like the sweet spot for bed length. You get too long and it just is too difficult. So we've got one that, man, that thing's probably got like a 24-foot bed on it or something, but it was like extended. The axle's not far enough back. The back end of it'll drag when you're going in and out of places sometimes, and it's just kind of messy. But and then, yeah, crew cab F-150s for just running around, like them all vinyl wrap, all looking the same. We kind of have everything styled pretty similarly.
Yeah.
And I want to make some videos of some trucks. And so maybe we'll get that done. I don't know. Probably not this month.
Go down the list and try to do a burnout in all of them until they just won't do a burnout.
That sounds cool. Let's just go out and see if we can tear up any of them. So yeah, I do have we could make a video of my burnout F-150.
Right.
So all right.
We'll do some burnouts in a Ford truck.
Yep.
Before it's over.
Yep, for sure. We got you. If you like burnouts, we'll hook you up.
The burnout reel.
If you like learning about fence, we'll hook you up. So anyways, that was kind of a weird episode for us, right? I don't know, felt a little bit different than our normal stuff, but it was just a couple things that we had encountered here recently and just kind of wanted to share with the world.
So thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks all for listening. I hope it wasn't too much of a trash talking fest. Hopefully sprinkled in with a little bit of positivity. But, in this business and in life as we know it, parenting, work, relationships, all of that, you encounter some of that contrast. And so I think it's important to talk about that. It's a real part of life. And then the ways that we try to navigate that and the ways to, work together with your team and your employees to cultivate, a better vibe and just ultimately increase the culture within. And I think some of that has to come from a place of frustration to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't know what you do want till you know what you don't want sometimes.
Yep.
So,
and also, I find it kind of, I don't know, puts me a little bit at ease maybe to kind of talk about other people and hear that they have struggles too.
Sure.
Right. To hear that it's not just us that have these struggles. And so, I mean, some of the stuff we talk about, like that's kind of the motivation for me.
Right.
It's just like, I mean, hey, if you're out there struggling, we all struggle. Right. So hang in there. It'll get better. This too shall pass. Just like this episode.
Thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
All right. Thanks. See you next time.